My name is Elena Moore. I'm 35 years old, a senior operations manager at a logistics firm, and the eldest daughter in a family that praises me for being strong, when what they really mean is convenient. Strong enough not to complain. Strong enough not to ask. Strong enough to absorb disappointment quietly so no one else has to feel uncomfortable. I was reviewing shipment delays when my phone rang. My mother's name lit up the screen, and I already knew this wouldn't be a casual call. She never called during work hours unless something needed fixing. "Elena," she said, skipping the greeting, her voice clipped and decisive. "Your sister's baby shower takes priority. We won't be attending your wedding." The words were delivered cleanly, like a fact already agreed upon. No apology, no hesitation, just a conclusion. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't even ask her to repeat herself. I stared at the glass wall of my office where my reflection looked calm, professional, and tact. "Okay," I said. "I understand." She exhaled, satisfied. "I knew you would. You're always reasonable." The call ended. What she didn't know, what no one in my family ever noticed, was that the stillness settling inside me was an acceptance. It was closure, the kind that locks from the inside. I sat there long after the call ended, my laptop humming softly, a color-coded workflow chart open on the screen. Everything at work made sense. Delays had causes. Bottlenecks had solutions. Systems responded to logic. People, on the other hand, could drain you dry while insisting they loved you. At work, they called me efficient, reliable, someone who held everything together. At home, those same words meant something else entirely. My younger sister, Lily, was pregnant with her first child and had been glowing in a way the family treated like a miracle. She called me weekly, sometimes daily, panicking over expenses, hormones, nursery themes. My younger brother, Mark, floated from one half-formed plan to another, always needing a little help to get through the month. My parents framed it as family unity. I experienced it as gravity. In my family, I wasn't Elena. I was the solution. When I got engaged to Ryan, my partner of 6 years, I did everything by the book. We chose a date 14 months out. I checked school calendars, work schedules, even Lily's projected due date. I sent save the dates early. I followed up politely. I even offered, casually, carefully, to cover travel expenses for my parents so logistics wouldn't be stressful. My mother laughed when I said that. "We'll figure it out," she replied, which in our family language usually meant you will. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called to confirm arrival times and seating. I was standing in the break room at work, coffee cooling in my hand. That's when she said it. "The baby shower is that weekend," she explained, as if I'd missed a meeting memo. "Lily needs us. You understand. It's the same weekend?" I asked, my voice oddly distant. "It became the same weekend," she corrected. "These things happen. Babies come once. Weddings can be any time." I swallowed every sentence I'd been carrying for years. The ones about always adjusting, always waiting, always shrinking my milestones so they didn't interfere with someone else's life event. "All right," I said again. "No problem." She reminded me not to be dramatic and mentioned they'd send a gift. I thanked her. Then I ended the call and placed my phone face down on the counter like it might still burn me. That evening, the family group chat lit up. Lily shared a pastel invitation mock-up. "Baby bloom brunch, yellow heart, can't wait to celebrate." My father reacted with clapping emojis. My mother sent hearts. And Anne asked about registry links. No one mentioned my wedding. I typed a message. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted that too. Silence, I'd learned, was less exhausting than explaining why you deserve to be chosen. They thought I'd negotiate. They thought I'd compromise. They thought I'd quietly move my wedding or show up smiling to a baby shower the same weekend I was supposed to walk down the aisle. They had no idea what I'd already decided. I leaned back on my couch that night, Ryan beside me, scrolling absent-mindedly through his phone. He didn't ask me what was wrong. He waited. "They're not coming," I said eventually. He looked up. "Because of the baby shower?" I nodded. He didn't curse. He didn't lecture. He just reached for my hand and asked, "How do you feel?" I searched for the right word. Hurt didn't cover it. Angry felt too loud. "Clear," I said finally. That surprised me too. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't scrambling to make myself smaller so someone else could feel important. I wasn't planning how to accommodate their absence or how to explain it away to guests. I was sitting with the truth. And the truth was this: they weren't confused. They weren't overwhelmed. They were choosing. And for the first time, so was I. People think becoming the strong one is a compliment. It isn't. It's a slow assignment you don't remember accepting. No ceremony. No agreement. Just a quiet understanding that if something breaks, you'll hold it together. If someone falls, you'll cushion the landing. And if you get tired, you'll do it silently. I didn't become my family's safety net overnight. It happened gradually, the way habits form. At 19, my first paycheck from a campus admin job went toward groceries because my mother said money was tight that month. At 21, I paid Lily's application fees when she decided, mid-semester, that she hated her major. At 23, I covered Mark's security deposit because his roommate bailed last minute. Each time, it came wrapped in reassurance. Just this once. Each time, once repeated. By the time I landed my first real job after college, the pattern had settled in my bones. I worked hard, kept my head down, learned how to solve problems quickly. I was good at it. My family noticed, not with pride but with relief. My mother liked to say, "Elena has it handled." What she meant was, "Elena will pay." I wasn't reckless with money. I wasn't flashy. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a used sedan, and tracked every expense in a spreadsheet that made me feel in control. I thought if I stayed organized enough, generous enough, nothing would ever tip into resentment. I was wrong. When Lily announced her pregnancy, the family treated it like a collective victory. Group calls, gift planning, Pinterest boards. I was genuinely happy for her at first. But happiness doesn't erase patterns. It just disguises them. She started calling more often. Not directly for money at first. Just advice. Then stress. Then a small favor. "Can you spot me until next Friday? Can you order this online? My card's acting weird. Can you help with the deposit? I'll pay you back when the baby shower gifts come in." I noticed how my phone buzzed more at the end of the month. How panic always arrived with numbers attached. How my refusal, when I tried it, was met with silence so thick it felt like punishment. Once, when I suggested Lily create a basic budget, she laughed. "Not everything is about spreadsheets, Elena." But when things fell apart, spreadsheets were exactly what she needed. Mark was no different. He called himself an entrepreneur, which in our family meant he was between ideas. He needed help bridging gaps. Just a few hundred here, 1,000 there. Always with enthusiasm. Always with confidence that something big was coming. My parents framed these requests as temporary. "You're the only one stable right now," my father would say. "It's not forever." But forever kept extending itself. The turning point, the one I ignored at the time, came a year before my engagement. My mother asked if I could co-sign a short-term loan for Mark. I hesitated. I asked questions. I suggested alternatives. She sighed. "Why are you being difficult? Family doesn't nickel and dime." I co-signed. 3 months later, I was the one making payments. I didn't confront anyone. I absorbed it. That's what dependable daughters do. We internalize consequences, so no one else has to feel them. When Ryan proposed, kneeling awkwardly in our living room with a ring he'd clearly rehearsed presenting, I cried harder than I expected. Not just because I loved him, but because someone had chosen me without conditions. We told my family that night. Lily screamed. My mother said, "That's wonderful," in a tone that sounded more polite than thrilled. My father asked about the date before congratulating us. Even then, I adjusted. We planned a wedding that wouldn't disrupt anyone. Not during holidays. Not during busy work seasons. Not near Lily's due date. I told myself I was being considerate. Deep down, I was being trained. As the baby shower plans took over the family calendar, my wedding faded into the background. It wasn't intentional, they'd say. Just timing. But timing always seemed to work against me. After my mother told me they wouldn't attend, something in my memory sharpened. I started replaying moments I'd brushed off for years. The way my achievements were acknowledged briefly before someone else's needs took center stage. The way my availability was assumed. The way my milestones were treated as flexible. That night, I opened my laptop and pulled up my old spreadsheets. Not the work ones, the personal ones. The ones I kept out of habit more than necessity. 7 years of transactions. I scrolled slowly. Tuition help. Emergency rent. Short-term loans. Gifts that weren't gifts. Each entry felt like a breadcrumb, leading back to the same conclusion. I hadn't been generous. I'd been assigned. Ryan watched from across the table, silent. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. "Do you know what hurts the most?" I asked him. They didn't even argue with me. They just assumed I'd understand. He nodded. "Because you always have." That night, I didn't sleep much. Not from anxiety, but from clarity. The kind that rearranges your priorities without asking permission. The baby shower wasn't the reason they weren't coming to my wedding. It was the excuse. And for the first time, I wasn't going to smooth it over. I wasn't going to reschedule my life to fit into someone else's celebration. I didn't know yet what I was going to do. But I knew what I wasn't going to do anymore. I wasn't going to be the solution. The week after my mother told me they wouldn't attend my wedding, the requests didn't stop. They multiplied. It was as if my silence had been interpreted as consent. Lily texted first. Not about the wedding. Not even about the decision. Just a link. "Baby shower extras, can you order these? It'll be easier through your account." I stared at the message longer than I needed to. There was a time when I would have clicked the link automatically, my fingers already moving before my brain caught up. That muscle memory was still there, twitching. Instead, I typed, "I'm not able to help with expenses right now." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Wow," she replied. "Did I do something wrong?" There it was. The pivot. Need to guilt. Guilt to compliance. Before I could respond, my mother called. "I don't like the tone of your message to your sister," she said without preamble. "I stated a boundary," I replied, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. "She's pregnant, Elena. This is not the time to pull back." I didn't pull back. I said no. A pause. Then a sigh, the one she used when she wanted me to feel unreasonable. "You're letting this wedding make you selfish." The word landed harder than I expected. Selfish. As if choosing myself once erased decades of accommodation. "I'm paying for my own wedding," I said quietly. "I'm not asking anyone for anything." "That's not the point," she snapped. "Families show up for each other." I almost laughed. Almost. Because the irony was so sharp it hurt. The next escalation came 3 days later, wrapped in cheer. My father called to tell me they'd booked a venue for the baby shower upgrade. Larger space. Better catering. "It's going to be beautiful," he said. "I'm sure," I replied. "We're a little short on the deposit," he added casually. "Just temporary." There it was again. Temporary. The most expensive word in my family's vocabulary. "I can't," I said. He chuckled, like I'd made a joke. "Don't be dramatic. You make more than enough." Something inside me shifted. Not snapped, settled. "My income isn't a family fund," I said. Silence. Then, colder. "Where is this coming from?" The question wasn't curiosity. It was accusation. As if boundaries were a betrayal. "It's coming from me," I said. "From finally paying attention." He hung up without saying goodbye. That night, Ryan and I sat at the kitchen table with takeout growing cold between us. He watched me closely, like someone observing a storm from a safe distance. "They're pushing harder," he said. "They always do when they sense resistance," I replied. "It's like a reflex." He nodded. "What happens if you don't bend?" I thought about it. Really thought. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm tired of being afraid of the answer." The real breach happened the following Monday. I was in a meeting when my bank's fraud alert flashed across my phone. Unauthorized access attempt. New device. Incorrect password entered multiple times. My heart didn't race. It sank. I stepped into the hallway and called the number provided. The representative walked me through the details. The email used for the attempt wasn't mine. It belonged to Lily's partner. I hung up and called Lily immediately. Music thumped in the background when she answered. Laughter. Clinking glasses. "Hey," she said distractedly. "Why did your partner try to access my account?" I asked. A scoff. "Relax. It didn't even work." That wasn't the question. She lowered her voice. "We just needed to check something." "You're overreacting." "I'm not your bank," I said. "And you don't get to decide that for me." Her tone sharpened. You wouldn't even have what you have if this family didn't support you. That old narrative again. Their needs as the foundation of my success. I hung up without replying. I sat in my car afterward, hands still on the wheel, feeling something unfamiliar spread through my chest. Not fear. Not sadness. Resolve. That evening, I pulled together everything. Not to punish them. Not to prove anything. But because I needed to see the truth without excuses. I printed bank statements. Highlighted dates. Noted patterns. I organized 7 years of financial history into one clean, undeniable record. When Ryan saw the stack, he raised his eyebrows. Are you sure you want to do this now? He asked gently. Yes, I said. Because if I don't, this will never end. The family invited me over that weekend. My mother's voice was overly pleasant on the phone. We should talk, she said. Face to face. I knew what that meant. Control regained through proximity, through familiar kitchens and practiced tones. I agreed anyway, not because I was ready to compromise, but because I was ready to be clear. I placed the folder into my bag the night before. It felt heavier than paper should. As I zipped it closed, I realized something important. They thought the conflict was about a baby shower versus a wedding. It wasn't. It was about access. And tomorrow, that access was ending. My parents' house smelled the same as it always had. Cleaning spray layered over something warm and familiar, like baked bread or habit. Comforting, if you didn't know what it cost. I stood in the doorway for a moment longer than necessary, adjusting my grip on my bag. Inside it, the folder rested flat, patient. My mother had decorated for the baby's shower already. Soft colors. Tiny favors lined up on the counter, each tagged with neat handwriting. Everything was prepared. Everything was under control. She smiled when she saw me. You're early. I won't stay long, I said. That flicker crossed her face. Surprise mixed with irritation, but she waved it away. We'll see. My father sat at the kitchen table, scrolling on his phone. He didn't look up. Lily arrived moments later, one hand resting on her stomach, the other busy typing. She barely acknowledged me. If you're here to apologize, my mother said lightly, we can move past this. I blinked. Apologize for what? For making things tense, she replied. This should be a happy time. I set my bag down on the chair. It can be, but not if we keep pretending nothing's wrong. Lily sighed dramatically. Can we not do this today? We're doing it today, I said, still calm. That was the part that unsettled them most. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. The sound it made when I placed it on the counter was small, but it landed like punctuation. What's that? My father asked, finally looking up. Records, I said. Mine. I opened it and slid the first page forward. Then the next. Dates. Amounts. Notes in my handwriting. Tuition gaps. Rent coverage. Medical bills. Deposits. Loans that were never loans. No one spoke. I didn't bring this to shame anyone, I continued. I brought it because I need us to stop rewriting history. My mother folded her arms. This feels unnecessary. It's necessary for me. Lily laughed once, sharp and dismissive. So what? You helped. Congratulations. I did, I agreed. For years. And every time I tried to pause or ask for space, I was told I was selfish. Ungrateful. Dramatic. My father leaned back in his chair. Family helps family. And family doesn't access accounts that aren't theirs, I replied, meeting his eyes. Family doesn't treat one daughter like a resource and another like a priority. That landed. Lily's phone lowered. My mother's mouth tightened. This is about the wedding, my mother said. You're punishing us because we chose the baby shower. I'm not punishing anyone, I said evenly. I'm responding. I took a breath. Here's what's changing. Their attention sharpened. 1. I'm no longer funding expenses I didn't choose. Not for the shower. Not for emergencies. Not for just this once. Lily scoffed. You can't be serious. I am. 2. I continued, holding up a finger. Any attempt to access my financial accounts again, any attempt, will be reported. I don't care who initiates it. My father's jaw tightened. You wouldn't. I would, I said, because boundaries don't work without consequences. The silence stretched. My mother laughed softly, shaking her head. You've changed. Yes, I said. I have. And you think this is strength? She snapped. Withholding help during your sister's pregnancy? I think strength is telling the truth before resentment poisons everything, I replied. And I think support that's forced isn't support. Lily stood abruptly. You always do this. You make everything about money. No, I said quietly. You make everything use money. I just keep track. Her eyes flashed. You think you're better than us. I think I'm done being smaller than myself. My mother pointed toward the counter. So what you want praise? A thank you parade? I want respect, I said. And space. My father pushed his chair back. If you walk out like this, don't expect things to be the same. They already aren't, I replied. I closed the folder and slid it back into my bag. One last thing, I added. I offered to cover travel costs months ago. Please stop telling people you can't afford to come. My mother froze. That's not. You never even opened the invitation, I said. Did you? No answer. Lily crossed her arms. So that's it? You're cutting us off right before your wedding. I'm cutting off access to my wallet, I said. You always had access to me. You just didn't use it. I headed for the door. Behind me, my father said, You'll regret this. I paused, hand on the handle. I regret not doing it sooner. No one followed me. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. The family group chat. Someone had posted baby shower updates. Decorations. Smiles. I didn't open it. I drove home with the windows down, the air sharp and clean against my face. My hands were steady on the wheel. For the first time, I wasn't bracing for fallout. I was ready for freedom. The week of my wedding arrived quietly. No countdown posts. No frantic group messages. No last-minute negotiations. Just space. My phone stayed mostly silent, except for automated work emails and a few messages from friends asking if we needed help with anything. I said no. Not because we didn't, but because help offered without obligation feels different. Lighter. My mother texted once. People are asking questions. I didn't reply. Ryan noticed the shift before I did. You're lighter, he said one evening as we packed. I think I stopped waiting, I replied. He smiled at that. The truth was, our wedding had never depended on my family's approval. They just assumed it did. When my mother said the baby shower took priority, I didn't correct her. I didn't argue logistics. I didn't explain. Because the wedding wasn't happening where they thought. 3 years earlier, after a promotion that felt unreal and a bonus I didn't celebrate, I'd made a decision quietly. I bought a small coastal retreat several states away. Nothing extravagant. Just a place where the air smelled like salt, and no one knew my last name. It was never meant to impress anyone. It was meant to be mine. I told no one in my family. So when invitations went out with travel details and accommodations listed clearly, I assumed they'd read them. I assumed wrong. They'd never opened the envelope far enough to notice. We arrived 2 days early. The house filled with laughter instead of tension. Ryan's parents arrived first, his mother crying when she saw the ocean through the wide windows. Friends followed, people who asked what they could bring, then brought more anyway. Someone strung lights without being told. Someone else cooked dinner like it was second nature. No one asked how much anything cost. That alone felt like a miracle. The night before the ceremony, my sister posted photos from the baby shower setup. Soft colors, balloons, smiling faces. My mother commented, perfect. I turned my phone face down. The morning of my wedding was calm. No chaos. No last-minute guilt calls. I sat on the deck wrapped in a robe, coffee warm in my hands, watching waves fold into themselves and disappear. I wasn't rehearsing explanations. I wasn't bracing for disappointment. I was present. The ceremony happened at sunset, barefoot, simple, the kind of beauty that doesn't need witnesses to be real. When I walked toward Ryan, I felt something loosen inside me, years of tension releasing all at once. We said vows that didn't mention sacrifice. We promised honesty. We promised partnership. We promised that love would never be used as leverage. When we kissed, the people who were there cheered. The ocean joined in. I laughed, actually laughed, and felt whole. We took photos as the sky darkened, light catching in unexpected places. We posted nothing. No captions. No announcements. By dessert, my phone was vibrating nonstop. I didn't check it. Later that night, our photographer pulled me aside. "You might want to see this," she said gently. My sister had reposted one of our photos. "Where is this?" She'd written. My mother commented beneath it. "Why didn't you tell us you were doing something like this?" My father texted, "Call me." I didn't. I slept better than I had in years. Morning came with missed calls, voicemails, texts that shifted quickly from confusion to accusation. "You embarrassed us. People are asking where you got the money. You should have done something simpler. You made your sister look bad." I listened to one voicemail. Just one. Then I deleted the rest. I sent a single message in the family chat. "Invitations were sent 6 months ago. You chose not to come. Please don't contact me again until you can speak with respect." Read receipts appeared. No replies. By noon, my father texted again. "We're coming. What's the address?" Ryan squeezed my hand. "Do you want them here?" I pictured it clearly. Them dissecting the view. Asking questions. Turning my piece into commentary. "No," I said. "I want quiet." I replied to my father. "We're on our honeymoon. Please respect that." He sent a thumbs down emoji. The day unfolded without interruption. We swam. We ate fruit that tasted like summer. We napped without alarms. I turned my phone off completely. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was standing exactly where I chose to be. Silence feels strange when you're used to being needed. The week after the wedding, my phone stayed quiet in a way that felt unfamiliar, almost hollow. No emergency texts. No, just checking in, calls that came with expectations attached. At first, I thought the quiet might break me. It didn't. It settled. Ryan and I slipped into an easy rhythm. Morning walks by the water. Late breakfasts that turned into lunches. Evenings where conversation didn't orbit around problems that needed fixing. I hadn't realized how much of my energy had been reserved for other people's chaos until it was gone. When my phone finally buzzed again, it was my father. "We need to talk about some bills." I stared at the message longer than necessary. The old reflex twitched. Solve it. Smooth it. Step in. Instead, I copied and pasted the contact information for a nonprofit credit counselor and sent it without commentary. The reply came fast. "You're abandoning your family." I didn't answer. A cousin filled in the gaps later. The baby shower had ended in tension. Someone mentioned the wedding photos. Questions followed. Stories didn't line up. My mother had grown sharp, defensive. Lily cried. Accusations bounced between rooms. Apparently, life had gotten expensive without me. "Daniel, no, Ryan," listened as I relayed the updates, correcting myself mid-sentence with a small laugh. "Old habits," I said. "Or old roles," he replied gently. Weeks passed. The messages softened. Less anger. More need. Requests disguised as reconciliation. I didn't engage. I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting something fragile and new myself. I expected guilt to arrive eventually. It didn't. What came instead was relief. The quiet kind. The kind that seeps into your bones and tells you the danger has passed. I started noticing small things. How my shoulders stayed relaxed. How I slept through the night. How decisions no longer came with an internal debate about who might be affected. One afternoon, while sorting paperwork, I found the old folder. The ledger. Years of proof I'd once needed to justify myself. I flipped through it slowly, then closed it. I didn't need it anymore. Family, I learned, isn't defined by proximity or obligation. It's defined by choice. By who shows up without taking pieces of you in return. By who celebrates your milestones without resenting them. My family might come back one day with apologies. They might not. I've stopped rehearsing that conversation in my head. What I know is this. I am no longer the backup plan. I am no longer the solution to problems I didn't create. I am not a wallet, a buffer, or a bridge people cross without looking back. I am a woman who chose herself. The house by the water was never about money. It was about quiet. It was about building something that didn't require me to disappear for it to exist. It was the first thing I bought that wasn't a safety net for someone else. I used to think strength meant endurance. Now I know it means limits. On some evenings, I still think about my mother's voice on the phone. Your sister's baby shower takes priority. The certainty in it. The assumption that I would fold. She was wrong. I didn't fold. I closed the chapter. And in doing so, I finally opened my life.